Hello Anon, my name is Twilight Sparkle, and welcome to the Pony Voice Preservation Project. My voice is the result of training an artificial intelligence text-to-speech program using voice clips taken from my animated show. Several wonderful Anons have dedicated their time to bring my friends and I to life. And now, I'm here to show you how you can create a dataset to do the same for any character you like.
She's right, this technology can be applied to almost any character you can think of. It's so much fun to be able to create new speech material for all your best friends!
It's pretty awesome, all right. Almost as awesome as me.
It's even possible to mimic classy accents such as mine. Isn't that simply wonderful, darling?
And this fancy modern doohickey can even handle these apples.
I'm gonna start off with one of my favorite things, a checklist. A list of the general steps you'll need to take from start to finish to give you the general idea. We'll then go into detail on what exactly these steps entail. Don't be put off by the length of this tutorial. The process is really quite simple. The length mostly comes from the fact that I'll be going through everything step by step in a way that any pony can understand, regardless of how familiar you are with AI. Just a quick note before we start. Everything I'm about to show is written out in detail in the Google Doc. I'll link it below. This tutorial is intended to be a supplement to said document, not a replacement. The Google Doc will always contain the most up-to-date information, so be sure to read that as well before starting any work. Let's now begin our overview of the audio clipping process. Obtain audio for your chosen character. Obtain a subtitle file and transcript, if possible. Download Audacity, Notepad++, and Python. Use the Subtitle to Audacity app, if you were able to get a subtitle file. Run the character tagger program, if you were able to get a compatible transcript. These subtitle and transcript steps are optional, but they will help you out a lot if you can find suitable files. Import the audio files into Audacity, and then create and edit labels as needed. Export labels from Audacity and run them through the checking script, correcting any errors it finds. Re-import the corrected labels into Audacity and export the audio clips. Create a text transcript of all the newly created audio clips. Upload all the files you've created so they can be used by any pony. And that's it. These are all the steps you'll need to create a dataset. I know the length of the list may make it seem difficult, but once we break down the steps, all will become clear. Step 1. Obtain audio for your chosen character. There are several potential sources of audio, and some sources will be better than others. Here are some suggested sources. Original raw voice clips from a recording studio, likely the hardest to obtain, but also the best possible source of any audio. Examples include raw studio recordings, and potentially audio files ripped from the game files of a PC game. Did you know that John D. Lancey made a voice pack for Elite Dangerous?
Please buy an autopilot. I'm not sure my nerves can take another landing like that. There's no point in you having more cargo capacity. You can't even count that high. I'd like to take this spaceship and cram it up your ass.
Audiobooks. These are generally quite long and tend to have less background music and sound effects. Anything you can get from Audible or similar should be workable. Shows and movies available on Netflix and iTunes. These often have 5.1 audio that can be ripped. This is where most of the material I was trained with came from. I recommend using the program FlixGrab to download shows from Netflix, and then use FFmpeg to isolate the audio. YouTube video. This must be only the voices with minimal background effects. This is a much less ideal source as compression will compromise audio quality, but it's usually better than nothing.
My floof! I chipped a hoof!
As a general rule, you should aim to obtain at least 30 minutes of audio for your chosen character before attempting training. This is the minimum amount of data you need to guarantee a reasonable chance of getting a decent output from your model. As with all applications of artificial intelligence, more good quality data will result in a more accurate model. So you should always aim to gather as much data for your chosen character as you can. For example, I was trained on approximately 4 hours worth of audio. Step 2. Obtain a subtitle file and transcript, if possible. Subtitles contain information on the content of speech and the time it occurs, which we can use to create Audacity labels to give us a head start. It may be possible to rip these files from a Blu-ray disc, or they may be found online at addicted.com. We have also created a tool to automatically tag characters to their lines with the help of a transcript. For this tool to work, you will need a transcript in the same format as shown here. You may be able to find a transcript like this for your show on fandom.com. If you can't find a transcript in this exact format, don't worry too much. This step is optional. You can also use a transcript as a source to copy-paste from to help with transcribing lines later on. Step 3. Download Audacity, Notepad, and Python. The program Audacity is a free open-source audio editor that we will be using to clip the audio. Notepad++ is an enhanced version of Notepad for editing text files. I will be demonstrating some of its useful features later. Python will allow us to run scripts to automate some steps for editing Audacity labels later. Don't worry if you don't have any expertise in coding. We won't be doing anything complicated and I will be fully demonstrating everything. Simply download and install these 3 pieces of software in the same way you would for any other program. Step 4. Use the Subtitle to Audacity app. If you were able to get a subtitle file. If you weren't able to get a subtitle file, you can skip this step and also the step after this one. Jump ahead to this timestamp to skip this section. This is the Subtitle to Audacity converter. It will generate Audacity labels with the information in the subtitle file, which will give us a head start. To use it, simply open the subtitle file in the app, then click Merge Overlapping Labels. This will merge any subtitles with overlapping timestamps into a single label. I recommend you leave the other 2 options blank. We will automatically generate timestamps later, and the Save File Name option will remove question marks, which you will have to retype later. This drop-down option will allow you to choose a formatting option for the output. You can use whichever formatting you want. I personally prefer the sentence option. Now run the app, and then save the output in a useful place. Step 5. Use the character tagger program if you were able to get a compatible transcript. If you weren't able to get a transcript in the format shown earlier, you can skip this step. Jump ahead to this timestamp to skip this section. This is the character tagger. It will attempt to match every spoken line to a character by comparing the lines to a transcript. To use it, simply open the output from the Subtitle to Audacity app from the previous step, and then copy and paste the transcript here. In the suffix box, type in 3 underscores, and then click Label Unknown Characters. Exactly why we do this will become clear in the next step. Run the program and save the output in a useful place. Step 6. Import the audio and labels into Audacity, then create and edit labels as needed. Before we do the importing, we will need to do a quick bit of editing to the text files we obtained in the previous step. Open the output from the previous step in Notepad++. If you skip the character tagger step, you will need to add 3 underscores to the start of every label. We can do this with a macro, which will record an input of keys and repeat that input every time you click the play button. I will demonstrate this now. Creative use of macros like this can be used to automate tasks that involve editing every label in a text file. Now for the actual editing. I will be demonstrating this on the output from the character tagger. If you skip the character tagger step, you should use the output from the Subtitle to Audacity app instead. The same editing still applies. The only difference is you won't have characters pre-tagged like this. Press Ctrl and H to open Find and Replace, and use it to change the following items. Remove the unknown character tag. This only applies if you did the character tagger step. To remove it, search for all cases of the word unknown followed by an underscore. This will ensure we only edit the character tag, and not any cases of the word unknown occurring in any dialogue. Remove any speech or quote marks, along with any other non-standard characters used in the dialogue. Replace any colons and semicolons with a comma, and any ellipses with a full stop. For simplicity, any pauses while speaking should be indicated with a comma or full stop. Remove any stage directions or nonverbal indicators by searching for brackets. Find and correct any cases of double spacing. Remove any parts of the script you don't want to include. In this case, I'll be removing the lines from the opening song. And finally, make sure that there are no spaces between or after any of the underscores. Now save the modified labels. Now open Audacity and import your audio, then import the label file. The label file you import will be whichever file you just did the editing on. If you skip the subtitle to Audacity step, you won't have any labels to import and will now need to create them manually. I will show a guide for manual label creation later. We can now see the clear benefit of the Subtitle to Audacity app and the character tagger. We have most of the lines already labeled and transcribed. All we need to do now is make sure that the start and end of each label is in the correct place. Add the character, emotion, and noise tags, and then verify that the transcript of the dialogue is correct. Before we start modifying these labels, we need to familiarize ourselves with the file naming system. The system is shown here. Pause to read through it. You can also find this image in the Google Doc. It is important that you use this naming system, as all scripts and programs we use later on will be expecting the file names in this format. Consistency in naming will also allow for easier collaboration. We are now ready to start editing the labels in Audacity. If needed, you can create a new label by highlighting the audio and pressing Ctrl-B. Click and drag the tabs to adjust the start and end point of the labels, making sure that the speech is not cut off mid-word and ends in a way that sounds natural. Next, add a character tag. You can use a shortened version of the character's name to save time. Make sure you make a note of any shortened code you use for later. In this case, I'm using a shortened version for Celestia. Now add an emotion tag. This too can be a shortened version. See the file naming system image in the Google Doc for a suggested list of emotions to use. You can use whatever set of emotions you like, but I would suggest for the sake of consistency that you stick to the standard list as much as possible. You can use multiple emotion tags if needed, such as happy shouting or angry whispering. Make sure that all emotion tags are separated by a space. We now need to judge the noise level of a clip. This is a difficult concept to explain as it's always going to come down to a judgment call. It is important to get this right, so make sure you put on a decent pair of headphones and listen carefully. If a clip is clean, that is free from all but the most trivial of noise, then leave the noise tag blank. Make sure that the underscores are still included. If there is significant noise in a clip, then you will need to make a judgment call. Marking it as noisy is effectively you saying that you would be happy to use that clip for training, despite the small amount of noise it still has. Marking the clip as very noisy is effectively you saying that the clip is unsuitable for training due to excessive noise. Generally speaking, for a clip to qualify as noisy, you should be able to clearly make out all syllables of every spoken word, and the noise itself should be quieter than the speech. It's usually best to be strict for the sake of preserving quality, so if you find yourself in doubt between clean and noisy, tag it as noisy. Similarly, if you find yourself in doubt between noisy and very noisy, tag it as very noisy. Finally, we need to check that the transcript of the speech is correct. The transcript must contain every word that is spoken, exactly as spoken, with correct spelling and punctuation. Remember that all pauses should be represented by a comma or full stop, whichever fits best. All sentences should end with either a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. A sentence should not end with a comma. Also be careful not to make the clip too long, as everything you enter into the label will later become the file name for that clip. Windows imposes a hard cap of 260 characters for a file name, including the directory. As a general rule, each label should contain about 1 sentence of speech. The length should be at least 1 second, and no more than 10 seconds. You can combine and split labels however you feel is best. I will now demonstrate the full process for a selection of clips.
Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, there were 2 regal sisters who ruled together. There were 2 regal sisters who ruled together and created harmony for all the land. To do this, The eldest used her unicorn powers to raise the sun at dawn. The younger brought out the moon to begin the night. Thus, the two sisters maintain balance for their kingdom and their subjects, all the different types of ponies. But as time went on, the younger sister became resentful. But as time went on, the younger sister became resentful. But as time went on, the younger sister became resentful. The ponies relished and played in the day her elder sister brought forth, but shunned and slept through her beautiful night. One fateful day, the younger unicorn, the elder sister. One fateful day, the younger unicorn refused to lower the moon to make way for the dawn. The elder sister tried to reason with her. But the bitterness in the young one's heart had transformed her into a wicked mare of darkness. Nightmare Moon. Nightmare Moon. She vowed that she would shroud the land in eternal night. Reluctantly, the elder sister harnessed the most powerful magic known to ponydom. The elements of harmony. Using the magic of the elements of harmony, she defeated her younger sister and banished her permanently in the moon. The elder sister took on responsibility for both sun and moon. The elder sister took on responsibility for both sun and moon.
And harmony has been maintained in Equestria for generations since. Elements of harmony. I know I've heard of those before. But where? That should be enough to give you the general idea of how this works. I will now take a quick sidetrack for the benefit of those who were not able to opt in a subtitle file for their audio. If you were able to get a subtitle file and use the Subtitle to Audacity app, then you can skip this section. Jump ahead to this timestamp to skip this section. If you did not manage to find a subtitle file, you won't have the advantage of the pre-made labels that the Subtitle to Audacity app provides. I will now explain and demonstrate what I feel is the best method for clipping audio in this case. Since you did not do the Subtitle to Audacity step, you will need to create the labels manually. Listen through the whole thing and drop rough labels as you go by highlighting sections of the track and pressing Ctrl B. I also recommend you add a short and emotion tag to the labels while you're at it. I will quickly demonstrate this process now.
There were two regal sisters who ruled together and created harmony for all the land. To do this, the eldest used her unicorn powers to raise the sun at dawn. The younger brought out the moon to begin the night. Thus, the two sisters maintained balance for their kingdom and their subjects, all the different types of ponies. But as time went on, the younger sister became resentful. The ponies relished and played in the day her elder sister brought forth, but shunned and slept through her beautiful night.
Once done, export the rough labels into Notepad++ and add underscores with a macro. When creating the macro, use the home and end keys on your keyboard to move the cursor to the start and end of a line respectively. Re-import the labels and listen through the whole thing again, adding character tags, noise tags, and the transcripts for every clip.
Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria.
If you were able to find a transcript for your audio, then you can use that to copy and paste from to make your life a bit easier. Once done, you will be in the same state as those who did the subtitle to Audacity step and will be able to continue as normal. Step 7. The checking script. We have now made the labels in Audacity with the character, emotion, and noise tags and transcript. The next step is to make sure that there are no mistakes and add the timestamp to the start of each label. Refer back to the file naming system for details on the format of the timestamp. The checking script is available in this paste bin. I'll link it below. It is what I have used to check most of the material I have made in the past for the pony models. This script will do the following. Replace your then character, emotion, and noise tags with their full versions. Add a timestamp to the start of each label in the correct format. Check for some common abbreviations in the dialogue that should be expanded into their full versions, such as MR for Mr. Check for any numbers in the dialogue that should be replaced with the word version. Adds a full stop to the end of any label that does not end with any sort of punctuation. To use the script, copy and paste it into a new Notepad++ file, and save it with a .py extension. This will save it as a Python executable. You can name the script whatever you want. The extension is the only thing that matters here. Create a new folder for the script and save it there, making sure there is nothing else in that folder. You can see here the section where information about shorter than code for characters is stored. You can add, remove, and change any entries as needed. Just make sure it's all in the same format as shown here. I'll now demonstrate how to add a new character and abbreviation to the script. If you do not add a character to this list that you used while clipping the dialogue, the script will return an unknown character warning. An abbreviation is not strictly required. You can leave it blank if you already have the full name of the character in the labels. The script will check for any abbreviations in the character field, and replace any it finds with its corresponding full version. It can also check for longer character tags and replace them with a shortened version. For example, the script as set up here will replace Twilight Sparkle in the character field with just Twilight. Due to the limit on the length of file names, it is advantageous to shorten the name of a character tag wherever reasonably possible. Here we see the entries for emotion. They work in the exact same way as we just saw for the character. You can also add, remove, and change these entries as needed. And finally, we see the entries for noise. These can also be changed to whatever shortened version you want if you find a system that works better for you. We now need to do just one more thing before we're ready to run the script. We need to tell the system to run the script in the console window so we can see its output as it goes through the labels. Create a new file in Notepad++, and type in what you see on the screen now. Make sure you use the correct file name for the checking script. It should be the same as whatever you named it. Save this file as run.bat in the same folder as the checking script. We are now ready to run the checking script. Copy your label file into the folder containing the checking script and name it labels raw, all one word. Double-click Run. This is the output. We can see that the script has added all the timestamps to the start of each label and expanded all shortened tags to their full versions. I'll now demonstrate this process again on a file that I have deliberately introduced some common mistakes to, and show you how the script alerts you to them. This label contains a character that is not entered into the checking script. To fix this error, create a new entry for that character in the checking script as was demonstrated earlier. This label is missing a character tag. Go to the indicated line and add the correct character tag. This label has an unrecognized emotion tag. Go to the indicated line and check that the shortened tag has been entered correctly. This label has had a noise tag entered incorrectly. Go to the indicated line and correct the tag. This line did not end with any punctuation. The script has automatically added a full stop to this label in its output file. We don't need to correct anything here. This label is missing a transcript. Go to the indicated line and add the transcript. This line has too few or too many underscores. Go to the indicated line and check that all the character, emotion, and noise tags are separated by one underscore. Before running the checking script, every label should have 3 underscores. After running the script, each line will have 6 underscores due to the addition of the timestamp. Once you have corrected all the errors the script has found, run it again on the labels raw file to make sure nothing was missed. We can now discard the labels raw file. We now need to do one last check on the output label file. Use find and replace to correct any cases of double spacing, and make sure there are no spaces before or after any of the underscores. Now, copy and paste the labels into a word processor, such as Microsoft Word or a Google document, and run a spell check. Fix any spelling errors it finds and copy the corrected labels back into the Notepad file. Save the file containing the completed labels. Step 8. Re-import the corrected labels into Audacity and export the audio clips. Import the new labels into your Audacity project and delete the old ones. We are now ready to export the audio to make the individual clips.
Once upon a time.
First, go to Edit Preferences and Import Export. Make sure your settings match what you see here. Now go to Export. Export Multiple. Make sure the settings match what you see here, and then select the folder you want to export the clips to. Now click Export. Question marks are not allowed in file names, so Audacity will automatically ask you if you want to change them to an underscore. Press the Enter key to confirm the change, along with every other label this applies to. Do not spam or hold down the Enter key, as I find that this occasionally creates duplicate files. You may be wondering if changing question marks to underscores in file names will mess with the tagging system, which already uses underscores to separate character tags, emotion tags, and so on. The answer is no. The naming system as set up will always have 6 underscores at the start of every file name. So we know for a fact that every underscore after the 6th one should be a question mark. This is easy to code into any program that later reads these file names. The question marks will also be preserved in the label files. Do not try to replace question marks with underscores in the label files before exporting to skip this step, as this will lead to inaccurate transcripts later on. You'll see how this works in the next step. You may run into an error while exporting that interrupts the process. The most common cause of this is that the file name is too long. Remember the 260 character limit for a file name, including the directory. If this happens, simply go to the label that caused the problem and split it into two shorter ones. We can now see the output. All the clips have been created with a file name according to the label we created in Audacity. Step 9. Create a text transcript of all the newly created audio clips. We now need to create a text file transcription for all of these audio clips. We need a text file for every single audio file that contains all the words spoken in each clip, and also has the exact same file name as the sound clip it is associated with. You can imagine that doing this manually for several hundred or even 1,000 clips would be a very long and tedious task. So we have created a script that will do this automatically. I will demonstrate how to use it now. It's a very similar procedure to the checking script that we used earlier. The script is available in this paste bin. I'll link it below. This will read the dialogue section of Audacity labels and create a text transcript containing that dialogue. This is why it's important that the dialogue section of every Audacity label is accurate to the spoken dialogue, as any errors in the labels will be replicated in the generated transcript. The script will then save the transcript as a text file with the exact same name as the sound clip it's associated with. To use the script, copy and paste it into a new Notepad++ file. Just like we did with the checking script, save this new file with a .py extension to save it as a Python executable. You can name the script whatever you want, just make sure you remember the .py extension. Now save the script in its own folder, making sure there is nothing else in the folder. Now create a run file in the same way we did with the checking script, and save it in the same folder. Copy and paste the text file containing the Audacity labels into the folder with the script, and make sure it is named labels. Double-click Run. You can see that it opened the console. If there are any errors while running the script, they will be displayed in this window. You can now see the result of running the script. It has created a text file transcription of every sound clip and saved it with the exact same name as the clip it's associated with. Now cut and paste the text file transcripts into the same folder that contains the sound clips. Step 10. Upload all the files you've created. Collaborative projects are all about sharing and working together, and sharing and getting along is a crucial aspect of friendship. I will now show you how to be a good friend to every pony you're working with on your text-to-speech project by offering a selection of options on places to upload your work. It doesn't really matter where you upload your clips, so long as they are easily accessible. This is Mega, an online cloud storage application. This is my personal preference as it allows me to create and edit folders and subfolders, which is good for keeping a large number of clips from lots of different sources organized. You will need to create a free account with an email address. You can use a throwaway email if you want to. Once you have uploaded a file, you can generate a download link for every pony else to use. This is an on file. It allows you to upload files and will automatically generate a shareable download link on completion. This service will not allow you to make any changes after you've uploaded the file, so it's best suited to one-off uploads. Alternatives to an on file include Smutty Horse and Zippy Share, which both work in the exact same way. Before uploading to any of these sites, I recommend you compress all the clips and transcripts into a zip file. Also make sure you include the text file containing the Audacity labels with any clips you upload. Please do share any datasets you create with us over on /MLP. We're always looking for more data to work with to improve our models and processes, especially with characters that have unique speech quirks and a wide range of emotions. You can also try emailing a download link to 15. But obviously, there's no guarantee that this will be used to train a model for the web app. And that's it! We're done! This is all we need to do to create a basic data set of sound clips and transcripts for any given source of audio. If you have any questions or points of clarification on any of the content shown in this tutorial, feel free to post them in the Pony Voice Preservation Project thread over on /MLP. In the thread, you will find me under the name Clipper. You can also email me at clipper.anon01@gmail.com. I always do my best to respond to all questions about creating data sets. I'll also remind you one last time to always check the Google Doc for the most up-to-date information before starting any work, as this process is always subject to change. I really do hope that this was useful to you and has inspired you to take the first steps to training a model for your favorite characters. I'm not gonna lie, the work can sometimes be long and tedious, but hearing your beloved characters speaking to you after putting in all that effort is a wonderful feeling. Remember, nothing worth doing is ever easy. Godspeed, you glorious bastards!